Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lab. I'm Kel, and we're here with Cody. Today, we're going to be chatting about stress and how stress can impact your gains. But first, how are you doing today, Cody?
Stressed. I'm just kidding. I mean, not kidding. Yeah, pretty good. It's my 10 years on T today. Randomly,
Ooh.
yeah. So it's weird because it's like a pretty big milestone, but then again, I almost forgot, and like that's kind of how transition is, right? Like at some point, you just don't think about it anymore. And I know, when I started and I was just thinking about, 10 years seems like this huge thing that you're never going to reach. Cause even like 5 years, it felt like a lot when you first start.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, holy shit, it's been ten years. I don't know how to feel exactly yet. But
Your maniversary.
yeah, so I'm 10 years old. I'm a 10-year-old boy now.
It's a boy. I just had mine not too long ago. It's November 23rd. I only ever remember when my time hop tells me. Oh, I made this post last year. Let's try it again.
Right. Yeah, that's good. It's funny, like I have not been checking my time hop as often because I think it's this time last year I made like the worst decision of my life, and I'm just like, I don't want to revisit because I just didn't know it was coming, and I'm just traumatized, and so I've just been like ignoring it. But then I finally like looked because I wasn't sure. I was like, I think it, and then like looked through. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's 10 years today. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. I did. I think I told you this already, but I scheduled my hysterectomy, and it happens to fall on the same day as my top surgery date, and I'm like, that I could not have planned that. Like,
No.
with hospital availability and shit, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that is weird coincidence, but just get all of my this the day I get all of my parts taken out is 2/6. So apparently
All of my
the
parts
only
taken
day
out.
I have surgery.
Oh man, you should just, yeah. Well, hopefully that's your last one. I don't know if you're planning on going any further than that. Am I allowed to ask you that? Is that invasive?
Oh yeah, you can ask me. I don't. I am not in a hurry to do it because, to be honest, I've been delaying this histo forever. Also because I don't like taking time off
No, yeah.
of life, and it feels like you have to pause your life when you get surgery sometimes. So, but I wanted to do this before anything changes legally, just in case. So I went ahead and scheduled it. But I think I'm so in to answer your question, I'm not looking to do that immediately, like to do bottom surgery anytime soon. Um, I don't know. We'll see. I'm never someone who uh, say never. I mean, I would love to have a dick, but um, I don't know when it'll happen. So right now, store bought is fine.
You just totally had. Did you ever watch Ina Garten? I think her name is, the Food Network lady. You just totally quoted her without realizing it, and it made me laugh because like she has all these like fancy things that she makes, and then she'll say like, basically it's condescending almost, because she'll be like, and if you don't have this, store bought is fine. So yeah, no,
Yeah,
just
yeah. That's funny. But yeah, I think I'm gonna hold off for right now, just because again, I just am lazy and impatient.
no, yeah, no. I mean, it's a big thing. I wouldn't do it again. So
Well, yeah,
yeah,
that's fair. I just yeah, it's just not at the top of my list right now. Um, I don't know. My soon-to-be wife is used to what I got. I think having the histo will help me a lot, though. I think I'll
yeah,
feel pretty good with that
yeah. I think
right
even
now.
health
So
wise, because like I know before before I had histo, it just kind of felt more like your body was kind of like fighting itself, like trying to find
Hmm.
homeostasis in the wrong hormone system. So
Right.
definitely helps. I didn't have any change in like dosage or anything. I think, everyone always asks like, oh, did you have to increase your T or decrease? Uh, no, I just just left it the same. So no.
Yeah. I think the worst part of like scheduling though that was like I had like go into like you have to go to an OBGYN like doctor and it's
I
so
know.
awkward at first and like they're like, "Oh, can I help you, sir?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
But luckily my primary care doctor um I love. She's very good. She's like an old lesbian. She's very down for the cause. And she has like all of her referrals are like her, you know what I mean? Like she's like selected these people and like that makes me feel a lot better.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's good. Very cool. At least you have a good primary. That makes like a huge difference. And speaking of healthcare,
speaking of healthcare, what
uh,
and stress, I feel like this is a combo together equals CEO shooter.
yes. Oh man, yeah. So if anyone hasn't heard, or if you've been living under a rock, the CEO of United Health, I don't know, United Healthcare.
They're
Uh,
actually my parents also.
oh shit. So Kel was the one who did it. No, I'm just kidding. So the CEO was assassinated, and they were on a manhunt for a bit there. Finally caught the guy. Like, did we? I don't know.
Supposedly caught the
Yeah,
guy.
like there's still conspiracies floating around, but there will be forever, I'm sure. So yeah, I know that there's been some, mixed responses, some interesting responses in that it has been one thing that I saw has united both sides of, being like, uh, actually, like no one likes our healthcare and we both agree that it needs to be fixed. How we do that, I don't know. But yeah, anyways, what were your thoughts on it?
So I know this is going to surprise absolutely probably none of our listeners, but I was not too broken up about it. And I did get in one fight with my mom about it,
Oh,
but because she has a
intense.
very different point of view, she doesn't. Well, no, it wasn't like a fight. It was just like a disagreement. Um, I am someone who believes in the consequences of your actions. I think I won't say he deserved to die. Am I upset about it? Not at all. I do kind of view. Um, I don't know. I'm not broken up about it. I know a lot of people are like, well, violence is never the answer, and I think sometimes it is required to kind of move the system forward. And not to blow it out of proportion, but I know I've been obsessed with this. So let me state that first: is I've been all over the TikTok, following this and following all the controversy and the scandal and the conspiracies, and obviously I don't know what to believe.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever know exactly what is going on. But I
No.
am I broken up about it? Not at all.
Yeah.
I really want healthcare reform. If this is what it has to take, okay. I don't know. What are your kind of high level thoughts? Are you pro Luigi or anti Luigi?
I feel like I'm just neither, because do I, think that it was right to, kill the guy? No. I saw this joke where someone was like, I wish, he could have just injured him and then the major consequence would be having to deal with our US health system. I was like, yeah, that would be real revenge right there.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, I
but yeah, it's like I'm not like, yeah, that was the right thing, but at the same time, it's something that how else do we get attention for it? Because I feel like how many years, like we're just screaming into the abyss and no change is ever going to happen because it's all about greed. And yeah, so it's like I have no actual solution.
No, but I do like, not, no, I don't like it, but I think it is important that it was the person it was who did it, who pulled the trigger. Or I think it's important that a straight, well, no, I think it came out that he's bi, supposedly, but a white wealthy person did it, and man, and I think that is important because I think it hurts a lot of the arguments on the other side.
Yeah,
Because um, and I also think he'd be treated a lot different if he was not who he is.
yeah,
Because I've heard all of the backstory. So like have you heard like about where the family is from and all that jazz?
yeah, a little bit.
So
Yeah,
he's like, his family has donated a ton to health related causes, and it's like specifically hospital causes. So what I saw is that where he's from in Maryland, his one of the hospitals has his name on a wing of the hospital because like his family has donated so much money to that specific hospital. So I think that's really interesting. But low back pain is a bitch, and
I definitely want to murder a few people after my back vein. So
I mean,
get it.
I mean, I think it's kind of crazy, and I've am very anti-billionaire. I'm very anti-wealth hoarding, and I think the stat that really fucked me up was I saw that UHC is the fourth most profitable company in the U.S. Period. And to think about that in perspective of they don't even produce a fucking service. They don't
Yeah,
produce a good. They're literally making money off of denying healthcare to folks.
yeah,
And I don't know. I don't care if he dies. Personally, like it's really hard for me because I feel cold saying that, and then like I know the argument is, well, he had a family, he had a kids, and blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, but how many kids are now orphans because of his company?
yeah,
And I just, I don't know if it's that, what is it, the trolley experiment everybody was comparing it to,
yeah,
that psychological conundrum.
yeah. Because I was thinking, like we put, you mostly on the right. I've not seen anyone on the left, but being like, oh, the left just wants violence. They're so violent. They're like praising that this happened or whatever. And it's just like, I don't think we're like praising it. We're just kind of indifferent because, yeah, we're saying that this guy who assassinated this guy is very violent and it's very wrong. And he's being, the law is punishing him. There's the consequences. But what about the consequences for the dude he shot, like being responsible for who knows how many deaths, most likely, due to denying things for people who need medical care? It's just like this legal way to assassinate people. It's just like you're not caring, but we don't talk about that at all. The only person we see in the wrong is the one who pulled the trigger. And like the other guy has pulled the trigger in many other ways that don't involve a gun, but they still involve death and impacting people's lives in a really awful way. So how do we bring both into conversation and not just have what the CEO is responsible for, what these insurance companies are responsible for? Like, how do we not let the whole assassination part overshadow all of that corruption and bullshit, while also bringing attention to it? Because it's hard not to be like, oh, I'm so glad this happened because now we can talk about it or something. And it's just like, not really, but like, I don't know what other way we could have seriously had a conversation about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it almost had to happen for anything to happen because like you said, like how long, if he would have went any legal route, we wouldn't have even heard about it.
No.
Now literally everybody is talking about it. Everybody understands why, or has an opinion, or has thought about it at least a little bit. I'm also very interested to see, because I think once it happened, I feel like there was like, it's a win-win situation in getting healthcare, like at least talking about healthcare reform, because if he was never found, I think it would have led to probably more
conspiracies.
I don't know about violence or conspiracy, but now we get to hear everything, and we get to understand the why behind why he did this. And the more that is talked about, I feel like the more it's harder to be like, yeah, I mean, healthcare is fine just to let it go unregulated, take all of our money, jack up those prices of EpiPens and insulin. Who cares? And
seriously,
well, and now like people are actually going to have to reckon with, I guess, the consequences of their actions. Like, I think one of the funnier things I saw was that Blue Cross Blue Shield thing. Did you see what happened?
Yep. They reversed their.
Yeah. So it was, they had just, for the folks who hadn't heard, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think it was Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah.
Had just announced previously that they were going to start limiting the amount of anesthesia that they'll pay for during a surgery. And once you're used up all your anesthesia, you have to pay for anesthesia out of pocket. And they, as soon as that happened, they were just like, never mind, we'll just walk that out. I can only like, all I picture is like the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, of Blue Cross Blue Shield, like seeing this on TV and being like, oh fuck no. Like,
yeah, seriously.
You better pull that back.
Like, no, I'm not next here. So yeah, it's hard to like see that, not put two and two together, and then think like, you know, like something had to happen. Someone had to do something, because literally any other legal route, it's like we've been trying to do this and it just never gets anywhere. So it's almost like that, like you've run out of options. You just roadblock after roadblock. So you have to like bust through the roadblock. And maybe that's how he felt.
Yeah. And it's like, I've also seen like people taking this opportunity to kind of talk about their issues with healthcare and what like their experiences. And I think it's been really interesting. The one that I saw recently was a woman who was taking care of her terminally ill mother, and they started denying her claims for her medicine. She died a month later, and they sent a package with all of her needles and stuff that she needed for her stuff. And on it, they had wrote that the reason it changed was that she died. And for some reason that put her in a new bracket that meant she could afford her healthcare. And I'm like, what the fuck? I know I'm a terrible storyteller, so that probably didn't make any sense, but it's just wild to me.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I very much believe that insurance is hell. And it's fucked up, and I don't know what the answer is, but it's not this. I know I've had some really bad experiences. I know you're in ongoing battles with insurance, it seems.
Yeah, like literally low back pain, and then getting denied, like a cortisone shot for my back and stuff, because they deem it like medically not necessary. And you're just like, well, my pain level says otherwise. So like, how can you, like, literally my doctor is recommending this. You can look at my MRI and see my discs fucked up. And you're just like, yeah, no, it's not necessary. How is that for you to determine? So.
Well, I don't know. This is kind of a longer one, but I can tell you a story. So you want to hear my worst insurance issue?
Yes.
Or why I despise insurance? My what is it called? Villain origination story. So when I was younger, in my mid-20s, I had attempted suicide. which is very triggering. Sorry, trigger warning, everybody. I was very fucked up, very depressed, blah, blah, blah. But I had just started a new job and insurance didn't kick in until that, like, you're there for 3 months or whatever. So I did it during a gap in my insurance. And so I went to the hospital, and they told me, we can't treat you because you don't have insurance. So all we can do is hold you in this bed until the hospital, that like the state ran mental institution, can come pick you up. And I had to wait in the hospital bed for 19 hours before the other place came. And every hour on the hour, the nurse would come in and say, how are you feeling? And I would say, not different. And she said, okay, and would leave because she's like, I can't treat you because you don't have insurance. So I literally sat there, and then, like, if I would have just said, I'm feeling better, they would have let me leave. Anyways, so that's kind of like my, and then it gets very much darker. But once I got to that hospital, they like take all your clothes and they give you like scrubs essentially. And I was still bleeding. So I still had my cycle, my period, and I had started it during this process and had bled through the scrubs. But they're like, well, that's the only pair we can give you. So I literally had those with blood for the rest of my stay. And it was because of insurance. And it's just like, that is such a, I always tell people, I'm like, I didn't get help at the hospital. I got held to make sure that if I was going to commit suicide, I was going to either do it or not do it. Like, you know what I mean? I was not going to get this middle ground again because it was such a traumatizing experience. And it was simply because of insurance, which is just insane. It's insane.
That's crazy. It's especially crazy with the mental health side of things. Like, they literally will just let you suffer. They will let you die just because you do not have insurance. And that's fucking cruel. And, you know, I've had some situations too, like this year with my mental health and things, just technical shit. And they find any way they can to like not approve the shit you need. And it's just like, that is fucking just pure evil. It's how much we pay for these insurance premiums, and we're not even getting what we're paying for. But also, like, I was totally gonna, I don't know what I was my brain.
You're good, man. Well, that's what I got super frustrated because I apologize. I got super frustrated because when I was arguing with people about this, they're like, well, just because they make money, they also pay for all those procedures. I'm like, that's bullshit. I pay into insurance. That is my money that is giving me. I know it's more complicated than that, but like, it's not out of the goodness of their heart that they're paying for their procedures. Like, that's literally their only job that you pay them to do. So I just don't think that's an argument, really. I don't know. You could call it cold, but I'm really hoping that it's like the shot heard around the world in terms of healthcare reform. Like, what I've heard people comparing it to the Franz Ferdinand assassination, but that sparked, I think, World War II. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I feel very cold talking about it that way, but I don't care.
Well, it just reminds me, speaking of cold, out of the blue, I was just watching TV and scrolling on Twitter or whatever, and you hear a lot about Russia, and I was like, you know what, things you do when you're a little stoned. I was like, I wonder if Russians like are actually happy in Russia, like, because we don't know anything outside of our own country, and I always just wonder, like, what is their perspective of their country on the inside? And so I Googled, like, are Russians happy? And it came to a Reddit thread where there was, like, Russians talking about their experience of their country, and then also some Americans that lived in Russia by choice. And one of the biggest things was that even the Russians were like, we have free healthcare. and not having free healthcare is just pure evil. And like the fucking Russians are saying that, and we're supposed to be like this developed country, the most powerful, the most wealthy country, and yet we still let our people suffer. Yeah. So
Well, and what's wild is that like every like the only they've been pointing out the joke that the literally the only place that you can get actual free healthcare is in prison, where Luigi is.
that's so true. Oh, yeah.
Because like the hell, veterans don't even get healthcare for free all the time. Like it doesn't even work if you fought for the country to get what you need. So it's wild to me. I fucking hate health insurance, and I do think insurance companies are evil. So
Yeah.
I feel no bad things. Did
Yeah.
not lose sleep.
No. And plus, we pay insurance even if we don't use it. So people have to think like, how long do we go sometimes gaps without even using it? And we're still paying them. So it's almost like a savings account for your money when you need it, but they're not really giving it all back to you.
But you don't get back.
No. Like, we'll take this and then we might give you some back, but maybe not. Maybe not. We'll let you know. So, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Some bullshit.
So speaking of all this, stress.
Let's talk about how stress can impact your gains, not just make you kill CEOs.
Yes. Let's yeah. Instead of killing CEOs, let's figure out how to get our stress levels down. So
this is probably a pretty stressful month for I would imagine most folk out there. Holidays are always stressful.
And then it's going to be not only a new year, but we have a new year with like a new president. So we get to look forward to that.
That everybody's looking forward to.
Yeah. Like, we're already stressed out about it. I don't know who's the fucking president right now, honestly. So it's just like
I mean, the aliens could come take us at any point. And I think most millennials would be like, oh, well.
Yeah. Most of them are like, all right, beam me up. Let's go.
Beam me up, Scotty. It's got to be better than here.
Like, beam me up for some free healthcare. You can probe me all you want. Like, as long as I'm good.
Yeah, they're giving it to strangers, probing you already.
Free colonoscopies. It's crazy.
All right. Well, let's talk about stress.
Yes.
So, do you want to kick us off, or you want me to kick us off?
Should we flip a coin? Just kidding. No. Go for it.
All right. So, stress. So we can talk about stress in a bunch of different ways. So everybody has different kinds. Obviously, we got stress from how hellish the world is, from work, from life, from kids, family. We got all kinds of stuff. But essentially, it all is going to affect your gains simply because stress affects your whole life. Essentially, it's going to fuck up your sleep. You're going to get your hormones all screwy, tends to screw with our mental health and our mind, making it harder to resist things that we normally could with no issue. It causes disruption to routine, can lead to all kinds of stuff. And I know stress is one of the biggest things I see as people's struggle point in my coaching.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Same.
Struggles with stress. So, what do we want to talk about? I'll talk about cortisol first. So cortisol is the stress hormone. It's produced in the adrenal glands and secreted when your stress levels are high, or when your stress in your life comes high, cortisol levels rise. What that cortisol does is it promotes fat storage, but it also is like, it's like, I don't know what's going on out there, but you're freaking out. So what we're going to do is hang on to everything because we need to save all of our energy and all of our resources because something bad is going to happen. We don't know what it is, but it's something. So what that means when you're trying to lose weight, when you're trying to gain muscle, is it's going to mess it up because your body doesn't want to get stronger when it's stressed out. It wants to hold, and it's going to absorb that food and store it as fat because it thinks that you might need it. because back in caveman days or basic life, for any organism is once you're stressed out, you probably means that food is going to get scarce, and so your body is going to hang on to that. So that's kind of how cortisol works, and that will be induced from any kind of stress that you have and that you add into your life.
Yeah. And like cortisol is, I feel like it's demonized too. It's not necessarily that cortisol in itself is bad because it is also an anti inflammatory, but it's when you have those like chronic high levels, that's when it becomes a problem and it starts like disturbing your sleep and all that stuff. And, we don't make the best choices when we're stressed. So, on top of, the metabolism change, the most significant thing is going to be like you're going to reach for comfort. And what do you do when you're stressed? You stress eat, or there's people who respond to stress differently and they stop eating, and then you lose weight. So a lot of like the whole weight gain, weight loss thing can depend on the situation and how you handle those stressors. But the fact that it disrupts your sleep, you're tired, like those are all things that are kind of a domino effect towards like not in the right direction of your goals.
Yeah, always. And I know like it doesn't take a lot of missed sleep to really feel those effects downstream. I know even if I've like had a really shitty night of sleep one night over the weekend, that'll fuck me up until Monday.
Yeah.
And if not longer, depending on how bad it was. And I know as we get older, our sleep disruptions only get kind of harder to deal with. And when you can't sleep, you can't perform in the gym, you can't perform at work, you can't perform in life, and you don't feel good.
Yeah, it's like everything gets exponentially harder. And yeah, so there's also like good forms of stress. So don't stress yourself out trying to like get rid of all stress. Sometimes it's more of like a shift in perspective or mindset. Like if you're starting to feel anxious, like stressing about that, or like trying, it's almost like that pink elephant effect, when someone's like, oh, don't think of a pink elephant. That's all you can think about. So when someone tells you like, don't be stressed, it's just like, that's not going to help. So if you acknowledge the stress and you're like, shit, like this is bad, I got to get it down, it's going to get worse. So it's like reframing, if you feel stressed about something, instead of just being like, oh my God, I am so stressed right now, I'm freaking out. Just be like, I'm feeling some anxiety, but it's okay. It's going to pass. I can do this. I just need to like breathe, get through it. It's going to be fine. So not stressing over your stress is going to be important as well.
Absolutely. And I think, and kind of along the same vein, is you want to make sure that you're kind of like, not all stress is bad, but we want those dips and those peaks and valleys. So allowing yourself to get down into an unstressed level to kind of lower your baseline stress will do a lot of good. And do we want to talk about kind of how you do that, or do we want to cover more about how it affects us?
Yeah, we can start going into the how to bring your stress levels down for sure.
So what is your favorite stress release activity?
I would say, it's a mix of like working out or journaling. Those are kind of my two favorite de-stressors. Or there's also like watching something, silly and mindless on TV just to kind of have some laughs, check out a bit. Yeah, those are my go-to. I'm not really a meditation kind of person. The closest I get to meditation is like when I go to bed, I'll listen to a meditation so I can like wind down, or when I'm walking, like it's meditative for me. But I don't ever like put time aside in the day and be like, I'm gonna do a meditation now, because I'm real bad at it. I should probably practice it, but I'm just like, not right now. No. How about you?
I'm not a very good meditator either, so I don't do a ton of meditation. But I enjoy walking a lot when I'm stressed. Connecting in nature helps me a lot. So if I can get out and get grounded outside, that usually is the best thing for me. Because typically when I'm stressed out, I go into that overwhelm where you can't do anything and you just want to sit on the couch and like freak out about all the things that you should be doing. That's usually that's when I need that break, and that, okay, I got to go outside and either get a walk in or just sit for a second out there. I also really like puzzles for de-stress. I really, especially my favorite part of puzzling is sorting, because like to sort the pieces by color and then try to match them in. And so just sorting, I love sorting. It's like it feels like you're able to organize things, and I'm like, oh, look how nice this is, and I can pretend that my brain is that organized for a second.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, literally cleaning your chaotic environment is a stress relief. But sometimes you stress about like
Absolutely.
getting started on actually doing that. So
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
but
But yeah, I think knowing what de-stresses you and like having it handy, because I know when I'm stressed, sometimes I'm like, fuck, I'm stressed, now what do I do? And I kind of like don't think about what I'm supposed to do. So I used to carry around, or I used to post a list on my fridge of like things I can do when I'm stressed out, with like various time requirements. So like if you have 5 minutes, maybe just a quick breathing exercise, just to get you kind of back into a reset. Because I think um, if we're able to see the stress and not, we don't, again, you don't have to take care of it immediately, but maybe just work on reframing it and resetting to almost make the stress more purposeful. Because I mean, like you said, stress is necessary, but so maybe, like, I know me and you both use procrastination as a form of stress to get us to get stuff done, right? So it's
yeah,
like procrastinating to give us that deadline, and then I'm like, okay, now I can go. I got 15 minutes. Let's do this.
right. It's like now
And
I have to
and
do
that kind of
it.
and but that can kind of help sometimes, because it can get you're like, well, I have no other choice. And so I think maybe reframing that as I work great, or not even like I work great under pressure. If let's get this done. I'm really excited to get it over with, or get it done and put away, buttoned up, and kind of think about it like that. That way you can use the stress and then release it once it's done. I don't know if
Yes.
that made sense.
Yeah. Yeah, enough. But I think too, like, also when you have stressful moments in your life, also knowing when to like reel back on like your training or when to push forward. Because exercise, although it's a good stress, it can also contribute potentially to the not so good part of stress. So you might have to be like, okay, I'm super stressed right now, so we're just going to do the gym like 4 days a week, for this period in time. Or if you didn't sleep so well, it might be a good idea to not hit the gym that day to give yourself time to catch up, rest, recharge. So this takes a little bit of practice. I feel like learning your stress levels, what you can handle. I know personally, when I am stressed, it impacts my workouts tremendously, and I feel very fatigued. Even if it's just like mental exhaustion, like it affects my whole body. So it's just like recognizing that, and realizing even if it's just a stress that's causing you fatigue, like maybe you need a rest day. Just give your body a break for a second. Not saying that if you're stressed that you should just never work out. Like I said, you need a healthy amount, but don't overdo it. Overtraining can just be something that is easier to come by in your stressful moment. So it's okay to dial things back. Or if you're in a dieting phase and it's an extra stressful point in life, it might be okay to just bring it back up to maintenance for a bit. until you like push through, because maintenance is a form of progress. As long as you're not, you could be sliding backwards. So just maintaining like that is still progress, especially if you've never practiced that before. So yeah, just changing up your plan when you need during stressful times, pivoting instead of quitting, or just like trying to grind it out and, prolonging the stress, or just, pounding your body into the ground to where you have to take like a while to actually recover. Because your body is just spent. Like, hey, we've been pumping adrenaline for way too long now. So we're going to have to like relax.
Well, and we saw, me and you saw this clear as day during my prep this year, and the fact that like, what were we in 6 weeks out about? My stress levels were crazy, and we took out cardio, and I got a ton, like I dropped weight, and I started really moving forward. I was able to progress in my cut. And that was simply because of stress, and you recognized that and like kind of pivoted my plan, and that helped a lot, and we were able to continue. So I do think that like, because I think people have that fear of like, oh, I'm stressed, I don't want to pull back because I'm just going to lose everything. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. Sometimes pulling back actually pushes you forward, especially in prep. And, a lot of people think that's like counterintuitive. Like, why would I cut out cardio? Like, I still have all this weight to lose. Like, like mentioned, like your body just is more prone to hold on to things, even if it's just water when you're stressed out. And that water can look like fat depending where you're holding it. And, could be some fat on top of it. So when your body's a little relaxed, it's more prone to release things. That's why you might notice if, you're dieting and then you have like a treat meal, sometimes the next day the scale goes down. It's because it's like your body is less stressed because you give it more food. Granted, it's not going to be something that it's not going to keep going down if you keep giving more food. It's just like this one day, right, of stress relief,
one time, yeah,
where like your cortisol levels, kind of come down, and then your body just like releases the water it's been holding on to, and then the scale, that's why it dips down. So that's why sometimes like refeed meals, it's not necessarily like, oh, you dropped a bunch of fat, but it's more of like, let's see where you're at and see how stressed out you are. And, can kind of determine where you go from there. But yeah, it can definitely hinder your progress, even if it's just like aesthetically speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I do highly suggest just like kind of keeping that list in your mind of things that you can do when you're super stressed to kind of negate that stress, but also making sure that you're doing things that fill your cup as opposed to just trying to take away all your stress. So things that really you're into and like enjoy. Yeah. And allowing yourself to do that even in times of stress and busyness can really help your stress levels.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And just acknowledging that, it's part of life. Life is stressful. You're going to have times where you're going to have to pivot and kind of figure out what to do, different game plan. But also seeing it as a challenge and knowing that sometimes during your challenges, that's when you grow the most. And that's when you make the most progress afterwards, because you're like, damn, I got through that. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Wrote some stuff down, just make sure we hit it all. Cool. I think that's most of what I had. Do you have anything else stress related?
I'm stressed about my dog just licking her asshole right now. Like, Carly, calm down. Like this whole time, like fingernails on a chalkboard. It just like, oh my God, stop. She's been doing it this whole time. No. Now she's like gasping for air. I'm like, Carly. She's got a hairball. Sorry.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Maybe she's stressed.
Probably. She's always stressed. That's because she's my child. They're like, dogs take on the personalities of their owners. I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, oh God, it is true. Hey,
that's hilarious.
She's like literally trying to hog up a hairball.
Oh my God.
Yeah. These headphones need to be a little bit more noise canceling. So yeah, stress. Is there anything else we should cover?
I don't think so. Oh, I do. This is where I always say that if your work is stressing you out so bad that you haven't been able to do anything in months, you might want to look for other jobs. I think there are some things that just aren't worth it. And the level of stress some people have with their work is just ridiculous. And typically you're not paid enough.
Yeah, but fair. Yeah. So, or we could just like shoot the CEOs and take their money. And
I mean,
this is not good stress advice.
Don't do that. Don't do that. This is not legal advice.
It is hard too, because it's like, oh God, the society that we live in, stress is a way of life. We have to work to survive, and we're not allowed much breaks. And we don't make a whole lot of money unless you're on the top, tier of rich people running the country. So yeah, if you can't quit your job and it's super stressful, like unfortunately, you're just gonna have to find ways to like mitigate that the best you can, and just focus on what you can control, even if that's like planning for the future to change your job at some other point, to start putting plans in place, start brainstorming, thinking like, what is possible? What can I do to change that? Even if you can't do it right in the moment, sometimes just creating a game plan or thinking about changing jobs that's really stressful can be helpful temporarily, because then you're like, okay, this isn't forever. I can't get out of this. We're just going to make it through. So yeah.
And like kind of like what you said, like it can be stepwise. Like you can start with just trying to set some boundaries and go from there. Remember, everything, we can take small steps in the direction, and that's still progress.
Yeah, for sure. And also, don't let your fitness and nutrition be an added stressor. Because I know there's a lot of people that are like stressing through the stress of like, how do I fit in my workouts, or like, how am I going to have time to like cook my food and stuff like that. Yeah, don't add more stress to your life with that. Like, keep it as simple as possible. Whatever, like, all you can do is your best, and that's good enough. So as long as you are doing your absolute best through the situation, there's nothing else you could do. So stressing about it is not going to help you in that circumstance.
1000%. Let's get that power talk.
Yeah, let's do it. So now that we have powered through the stress of the podcast and Carly licking her butthole, all right. So, power talk. Resilience is not about never failing, but about rising every time you do. So, yeah. I think that this is pretty self-explanatory. It's just kind of like, failing is not something to be afraid of, because everyone does it. Small tangent side note. I was thinking about this the other day, and how there's usually like someone that you look up to, whether it is in fitness or business, anything along those lines. You see like how many times they have actually failed. One guy specifically, Casey Neistat, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a YouTuber, like one of the most, famous YouTubers. And he has failed so much in his life, but he just keeps on going. Like, he doesn't even think anything of it. He's not afraid to just try things, because you always learn something from it. Like, failure isn't necessarily failure. It might just be a no, or like a reroute, like a detour. Like, hey, this was the wrong path. Now go the other way. And that was me this year. It's like, I failed so many things, but I'm like, okay, I'm learning from it still, and yeah, that's the most important thing. Everybody fails. That's how you learn. That's how you can't be successful without failing. Honest to God.
Absolutely. No. I just saw this thing the other day. Did you watch Schitt's Creek?
No, I didn't.
Well, there's an actress in Schitt's Creek, Jocelyn, for those who did watch it. And I saw when she got her call that she had made it onto Schitt's Creek, she was actively filling out a Home Depot application. um, and that's dope. Like I think she's in her 40s, and she was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. And it did. And
That's
so
awesome.
you never know.
Yeah.
It can happen at any time.
Truly, truly. So hang on, even if you don't quit, especially if you're not hit like a wall yet, like keep going. And that's the thing about fitness too. Like you cannot fail unless you quit. So yeah, keep on going.
Absolutely.
All right.
Keep on keeping on.
Yep. All right. Any last words?
I think I got it.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Make sure to comment, share this episode. Found it helpful.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe so you know when the next one is coming out, which it's Mondays, in case you didn't know still. So we'll see you every Monday. Until then, thanks for listening. Peace out.
Talk to y'all later.